Okay, so the Gemara in the middle of the Gardum and Sugya had discussed that the Bnei Rabbi Chia tied their tzitzit, and the Gemara had said, well, maybe they don't have to, but they just did. Right? So the Gemara had said, right, maybe, right, in their case, it was kosher because even though it ripped, they had knots on every stage, they didn't have to. And at the top of Lamed Tet, the Gemara says, but what you learn from here, the fact that it would only be kosher if there was a knot, right? If there was a knot at some point, you learn that at least one knot is daraisa, right? Shema mina, Kesher Elyon, daraisa. That the, whatever that means, the upper knot is biblical. And the Gemara says, how do I know? Because if you thought that the top knot was not daraisa, or this is the top of Lamed Tet Aleph, right? Literally the top line. My itzrach l'mishrei sadim b'tzitzit. Because if it were the case, so as we'll see, the Gemara says that there's a special heter of kilayim in tzitzis, but the halacha in general is biblical kilayim. When do you violate biblical kilayim? Only if the...
This is more...
If
it's tied together.
If you woven together or tied together, or right. So that's why, right. It's important to understand this. People get this totally wrong, right? The Gemara says that if you discover that your clothes are kilayim d'oraisa, so what do you have to do? Take them off. What if you're in the middle of Times Square?
Doesn't matter.
Take them off, right? It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's your shirt. It doesn't matter if it's your pants. It doesn't matter if it's your underwear. It really doesn't matter, right? Elamai.
If you're...
Elamai.
Wait, what?
Yes. That's what the Gemara says. If you would like, we can do that. So yeah, right, actually...
There are other problems with doing
even if it causes you to expose your erevan?
Yep. Doesn't matter.
What?
Yep.
That makes no sense.
Yes, it does. And if you want, we can do that. So yeah, but not this minute. However, that's only by kilayim d'oraisa, because the halacha is that gadol kavod abriyot, right? Kavod abriyot, shidduch lo zeh shabbat Torah, which Chazal understand, and this, if you remember this from Lamed Chet, Lamed Zayin, Lamed Chet, if you remember the Gemara there, we didn't go into it, but we did read it in the when we were doing that sugya, that Chazal interpreted as being about lo tasur, right? That it's not really a biblical law. Rabbinic law can be overridden by kavod habriyot, by human dignity. Now, the most of the time when you have your clothes checked for kilayim, it's being checked for kilayim derabanan, because 99% of the times you have kilayim in your clothes, it's the stuffing, right? The stuffing. Right, like it's
it's not even woven together.
Correct, and therefore it's kilayim d'Rabbanan, and therefore, if it was found, would you have to take it off in public?
No,
because
it
depends what it is, but like,
if it's your pants.
right? I mean, if your pants, no. If it's your jacket, no. Right? Maybe you take it off anyway. It's just not embarrassing.
If it's cold, then if it would
I'm saying like your suit jacket. Or you get into cold. It's tsar the same. But I was listening to a shir by Ray Leibowitz where he said he got this shaila that. A woman was talking to someone else in shul, and she saw her dress. Said, "Oh, very nice dress. Where did you get it?" And she told her where she got it. He said, "Oh, I actually got that same dress, and I had checked, and this dress, all dresses like this, are kilayim. Now, a dress is a problem, right? You take it off."
Yes.
But so yes, and what to do? The answer was it was only kilayim. It's only kilayim d'Rabbanan.
If
right?
it was woven together.
It wasn't woven together. That's not where it was. Wherever it was, in the collar. I don't know what it was. Somewhere in it. It's in the stuffing. Whatever. It's often usually where it is in the hem. Whatever.
Usually half of it's like one.
Or whatever it is, but it's not usually woven together. Exactly what that means is a machlokas. Is exactly what does that mean? Again, the exact parameters that we don't have to get into. But the point is that for biblical things, it needs to be attached. If it's not attached, it's not kilayim.
This little string here.
Okay. Again, the exact parameters. Not for now. It's very complicated. But the Gemara says that you wouldn't, if tzitzis didn't have to be tied at all, so then you just had the strings hanging through a hole in your clothes, but it's just like that's not shatnez d'oraisa. For sure, not shatnez d'oraisa. So therefore, you would need no pasuk to tell you that it's mutter because it's not usher to begin with, right? Just putting it in, and therefore we know.
What's the difference between not being mutter and just
No, Daraisa is completely mutter. No, Daraisa is mutter. And if you're talking about a pasuk, correct, but you're talking about a pasuk. Remember, with a pasuk that says Kilayim Daraisa,
well, we have some Darabanans based off of the pasuk as well.
those aren't really based on psukim, those are machlas, right?
Fine.
But a real pasuk, meaning it's a biblical heter, that you're allowed to wear Kilayim B'tzitzis, you wouldn't need that if
If it was Daraban.
they weren't attached. So the Gemara says...
It's not really pasuk that says you can have them together.
No, but that's a chazal.
It's the smicha.
Doesn't matter. Meaning the point is that the chazal understand this as a biblical rule, that the Torah needs to go out of its way to tell you that it's mutter, which means that had it not been mutter, right, it would have been that thing which is usher and therefore requires a heter. Again, not explicit pasuk, that's not the point. The point is that it's biblical. So therefore the Gemara says, you learn that at least that first knot is da'oraisa. So the Gemara is pshita, isn't that obvious? Tokiv tchiyav chaz ein achibur, el shmamino da'oraisa.
So the first knot in this seems to be the one closer to
Right, and therefore, and a single tchiva also doesn't, right, is not enough, right? A single loop. Thank you.
So when
There
it's
we go.
saying first knot, it means this one.
That's what that is the sugya. Okay.
I mean, from this, it kind of seems like.
Stop.
Sorry.
Okay, so what is this Kesher Elyon? So you're going to tell me that the simplest understanding is
seems like it's a first-
is that which attaches it to the beged, right? Why do you assume it's that which attaches to the
Because
beged?
it says tied. If it's not even tied, like they didn't even tie it. So
Right, so you assume that, look, they're linguistic. So again, we should be clear. In this sugya, there's both linguistic questions and halachic questions. So, you need to answer it both. Why would you say that Kesher Elyon means the one closest to the beged? Linguistically, and then tell me halachically.
what attaches?
Linguistically, and then halachically. Linguistically, why would you say that?
What do you mean?
The word, why would you think that the word Elyon?
It's the top knot
Because the top knot
when it's hanging down.
when you're wearing it. When you're wearing it.
When you're wearing it,
Right? The Kesher Elyon is that which is close to the beged.
By the words, okay.
Right?
Halachically,
Now, halachically, you'd say, well, the Gemara seems to say that the knot we're talking about is that which attaches to the beged and never makes kilayim a problem. So, most likely, it's that knot which connects it to the beged, right? That is indeed how many Rishonim understand it. So, if you look at...
And also makes sense from a London's perspective, because otherwise this wouldn't be a shiloh. Because the whole point is that it's tied onto the
Again,
and that's what makes
good.
it
That's what.
But if it's not the one that's tying it to the beged, then if the Kesher Elyon is some other knot, not that first knot, then it wouldn't be.
Good, so
then it wouldn't.
Okay, that's what Nachum said.
All right.
Right? Now, but let's look at Rashi. So Rashi is very unclear. Rashi says Kesher Elyon. Hainu namyahu kesher lamata halach al Moshe misinai. Klomar kesher echa b'tiz miyadaraisa. The knot below is halach al Moshe misinai, meaning one knot. Ulahaki hacha nakat elyon misham di'ilo avid elachad kesher besofo avid leishem mekayim gedil kulo. And therefore, if you only put one knot at the end, which keeps it, it would be daraisa. So which knot does Rashi think it is?
the bottom.
So it's not 100% clear, but it sounds like the bottom one. If you want it to be clear, look at Tosfos. Right? Rashi here, because all the words there could be read differently. Sofo, right? End is ambiguous. It could be which end. The end close to the big end, the other end, right? It's very hard to figure out what he wants.
And meaning you started with one first.
Yeah, that's probably what it means, but you could have gone the other way. But you're right. That's the pashtus, and that's what Tosfos says. So you look at Tosfos at the top. Tosfos says, Kesher Elyon, B'kundras Perish Shnei Perushim. Echad achar agdil v'nikra shmo Elyon kamo lemala min ha'atara. So he said Rashi seems to think that it means, right now Rashi in different places contradicts him. He says at least one of the interpretations of Rashi is the one farthest from the beged. Okay. Now, again, we have to answer two questions. First, let's answer the linguistic question. What would that mean?
The last one.
Linguistic question. How could he hold that is Elyon? So the Mordechai just says, well, maybe when you're making the tzitzis, right? That's the Elyon, right? Fine. He says Elyon in certain places in Shas means that which is that which is at the extremity. Right? What's his example? Did you get this? Did you bother looking it up? No. So come on, guys. The Gemara in Nida in Yud Gimel Mud Beis is talking about the prohibition of what?
I didn't get that far.
The first source, I'm glad. The
this. I thought you were asking the actual Gemara.
what? It's the second line in Tosfos. Tosfos says, where linguistically do you see that the word Elyon might not be top? It might mean the one at the extremity. So he says the Gemara Nida. So what's the Gemara Nida talking about? Gemara Nida is talking about the prohibition of masturbation, and in that context, the Gemara has prohibitions on putting your hand on the tip of that part of your body when you go to the bathroom, because it might lead to shichvat zera. And the Gemara calls it l'mala min ha'atara. If you touch the part which is above the crown, right, which is the tip.
So it's kind of using the same word.
And therefore, Tosfot says, you see that the word limala, now that part of your body, if you know your own physio, or your own anatomy, is farther up or farther down?
Further up.
Down, thank you. The tip of that part of your body is farther down than the rest of it.
I'm sorry, I missed
Thank
it.
you.
Yes.
Right?
It's so great that we're getting this on recording.
This is the Gemara. I hope this is clear. I don't, And he says the malam min ha'atara. The Gemara calls that part of the body above the crown. The eye above. Above doesn't mean above. Above means
The tip.
it just means the extreme, right? It's the extremity, right? So he
it's-
says, and therefore he said that's why Rashi thinks the Kesher Elyon literally, like linguistically,
The furthest
can mean
from the beged.
the furthest from the beged, just like that's the furthest part of the aver. Okay.
So he's not saying the mala means closer to...
No, Lamala means the farthest.
Right, not like height-wise, like this would be...
Correct. He's saying, how does Rashi get to the
This
notion
would
that
be on top
Lamala...
of this, Lamala.
Right, how does it get to the possibility that Lamala means Limala,
From Nida.
right?
Nida.
Right, from the notion that Lamala might mean the extreme. Right, the extreme. Okay. I assume, see, if you didn't look at the Gemara Nida, you would not expect that that's where Tosfot was going to bring his proof for Rashi
That's
from.
interesting.
But,
How does that work then with the Gemara?
wait.
That's what...
It's the furthest now.
But like I said, there's two questions.
that's
One
what
is the
it's-
linguistic question. One is the halachic
That's what they're
question.
seeming... That's what makes sense it's kosher to the...
Okay, we'll take it. Good. So, v'zeh eino muchach al demiyah b'inan kasher. V'lashon achinu pe'er samach l'knaf. Said that's one place, but Rashi elsewhere says it is not that one. It's
The one closest.
the one close to the beged. Avo kesher she'achar agdil kevan sherachum min adalet mishum ma'u lo avi kilayim. But he says elsewhere he says it's the one close to the beged, and that makes sense because the one farther away has nothing to do with kilayim. The one that attaches to the beged has to do with the kilayim, right? So there's the halachic question here. There's the halachic justification. There's the linguistic. Now, okay, before we solve these problems, again, we just have to lay out the issues here. Where does Rashi say this? So, if you look for a moment on the sheet, Sanhedrin, good. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells you that Amar Rabbi Lazar, Amar Rav Oshia, Enochayev El. So the context is, what's the context of the Gemara in Sanhedrin? Prohibition of Shana Bet guys who did this last year on, I think, Shavuos, Zokin Mamre. Was that Shavuos or was that Mega Mishmar?
I feel like that was a mega mishmar.
Basically
Mega
the
Mishmar.
same thing.
Mega Mishmar,
It's
fine.
basically the same thing.
No.
No, it's not. No, it's even
More
better.
guys stay up for your mega mishmar than Shavuos.
Shavuos, they're dying. Okay. This is the morning share, not the night share. This is the morning share after
Yeah,
Vasika.
no, so Shavuos here, guys don't like.
Anyway, not for now. Not for now. You can tell. You can explain later.
Yeah.
Anyways, so in that context, the Gemara says you only violate, right? Person can only be a Zokin Mamre if he rules on something, which is Ikaro midivrei Torah, Pirusho midivrei Sofrim, that it's biblical with rabbinic interpretation. Okay, that's the context. So the Gemara says, "Amar Elazar Moshe Enochayev El Davar Sheikaro midivrei Torah, Pirusho midivrei Sofrim, v'yesh bo lo sivim hosiv gorea." And that you add to it in such a way that it makes it less, meaning you add it numerically, but that challenges the integrity of the object, and therefore halachically is gorea. Right? Halachically makes it less meaningful. So what's the Gemara's answer? The Gemara says, "V'yikat tzitzit." The Gemara is in the middle going through examples. And in that context, it says, what about tzitzit? The ikarom midivrei Torah, pirushom midivrei sofrim. It's biblical with rabbinic interpretation. V'yesh lo lahosif, and it's a case in which you could physically add v'im hosif gorea.
So that's
And if you add, it would be subtracting because it would be, right? It would be making it not tzitzis, right? You're supposed to have 4 strings, 8 strings, right? Now, we're going to see, by the way, just hold this, we're going to come back to the sugya, because once we get to Beishamai Beis Hillel and Mem Aleph, of whether you need 4 or 3, or 6 or 8, we're going to see that how to understand this Gemara is very complicated, and this was part of the Tosfos that we skipped on Lamed Chet, the possibility that you actually are allowed to add strings, so we're going to come back to that. So for now, don't get too caught up in that. So the Gemara said, well, what would it mean to add in such a way that it would challenge the integrity of the tzitzit? So the Gemara says it's only possible if Kesher Elyon Daraisa. Why? Because if you don't have to tie the tzitzit, then adding an extra string would do nothing. Because if it's not attached, then it's just like an extra string hanging out. It's not integrated into the tzitzit. What makes it integrated into the tzitzit such that by adding you have changed the integrity is only if it's attached.
So it seems
right? Because think about it. If you had strings that are not attached, so you have 4, that's what you need. You have 5th, so it's just extra. It's like it'll fall off.
Right.
But if you tie it, so now you've created an entity,
so it seems
which is one of 5, and you're not supposed to have 5.
right.
So the Gemara says, by the fact that there's a possibility by tzitzit that you could add, thereby challenging integrity, or in the Gemara's language, kol hamosif goreya, right? If you add, it's really subtracting, right? Because you're adding numerically, but you're making the integrity, you're compromising the integrity of the tzitzit. That's only true if you tied it. Because now you've created a problematic object.
So the only way to tie
So good. So the Gemara says, because if you didn't hold that you had to tie it, so then the fact that you added a 5th string is irrelevant because the 5th string stands alone. Right? There's nothing forcing you to look at it as a new integrated unit of 5. The only thing that makes you look at an integrated unit of 5 is if it's tied. And that's why if you tie it, you hold that you have to tie it. So it is lacking. So in that context, Rashi said, Shosin Samuch L'Knaf. What's the Kesher Elyon?
the one closer.
The one close to the beck. And that's where Tosfos is quoting. And Tosfos just notes that this question is a machloket in our Gemara, right? Sorry. Rashi says it's a machlokes, right? And Tosfos said there's no machlokes, right? That's all he says, right? Now, that's an interesting question I want to get into, is that Tosfos assumes that the Gemara unequivocally assumes Kesher Elyon Daraisa. Rashi assumes that this was actually part of the machlokes here on Lamed Chet, right? That these are 2 dead. Either way, the maskana is Kesher Elyon Daraisa, right? Seemingly. But that is the 2 main possibilities. Okay. So now, let's continue. There's the 2 main possibilities, just what it means, top or bottom. Now we've explained the literary point, which is, again, linguistically, how could you say Elyon means top? It means top. How can you see Elyon means closest to the beged? Easy, it means the top when worn. How do you say Elyon is the extreme? So either Tosfot, which is Elyon just means extreme, or Mordechai, which is maybe it means top when you're making it, right? Because when you're wearing it, the one closest is the one to the beged. When you're making it, lav dafka, right? When you're making it, not necessarily. That's something not lav dafka. You could imagine that I'm making it like this. Okay, fine, whatever. Okay, whatever it is. That's not our big problem. The big problem is the halachic problem. Right? It's the halachic problem. That Rashi somehow says that Kesher Elyon Daraisa is the furthest known from the beged, and so it says Mapidam. The issue of Kesher Elyon is that which attached to the beged. That's why the relevant halachic sugya for it, according to the Gemara, is kilayim. Right? Does this or does not attach it for kilayim? And in Sanhedrin, does it or not integrated for the purposes of there we go. So now continue in Tosfos. Tosfos in Lamed Tet, right back in Menachot. He says, "V'tema v'hai demucha cheichi mazik b'yevamo demand lo dorish muchem v'heicha demucha demer b'shem lameli dikilayim." Well, no. Let's hold that for a second. Okay. Now look at the Shita Megubetzet. Okay, look at the Shita Megubetzet. So Tosfot said, what's the proof of Rava? It's simply that it's kilayim, and kilayim therefore needs to be attached. But if you look at Shita Megubetzet, he says a little bit differently. He says, Lefum riyato mashma. See the Shita Megubetzet?
Yes.
The simplest read is that you needed a pasuk to permit kilayim b'tzitzis, right? That's how Tosfos understands it. Now, which Gemara is this? Gavi is right. So look at the Gemara here in Yevamah, Daf Daled, right on the sheet. V'sulo ta'aseh greater minalan dedachi. So the Gemara there is talking about the general principle of aseh dochelo ta'aseh, the notion that a positive mitzvah overrides a negative. Again, the parameters of that are very complicated. Maybe we'll get into it, maybe we won't. Depends whether you guys are interested. It's a very, very long sugya. It's one of the longest sugyas in Shas in terms of individual perikopes. It's 5 blot, straight in Yevamot. It's very, very complicated. The logic for it, parenthetically, the Ramban argues the logic is that ases represent Ava Hashem, and Loses represent Yira, and Ava trumps Yira, which sounds like a nice word. Anyways, so the Gemara in that context says, how do you know that an aseh, that a positive mitzvah overrides a negative one? Now, technically, that's not a negative commandment. There is an English word for that, right? We always say positive and negative commandments. That's sort of, it's true, except really, the English is prohibition, right? Sometimes we forget there are English words for these things, but fine. That commandments override prohibitions, fine. So the Gemara says, "Lo tilbash shatneis gedilim ta'aseh gedilim ta'aseh l'chol." Gomer Elazar smuchim and adar minayin shneimar smuchim la'adolam asum be'emet v'yashar. Because lo tilbash shatneis and gedilim ta'aseh l'chol are juxtaposed. Elazar says, how do we know that smuchim is a value? And quote this pasuk in Tehillim. Okay. Now, why, by the way, does Rashi think that Kesher Elyon is a machlokas? So Rashi thinks Kesher Elyon is a machlokas. Do you already get it from this Gemara? Because the Gemara says that, according to who is Tchelet Docha, is Tzitzis Docha Kilayim, only if you paskin Smuchen, which is a machloket, whether we darshan Smuchen, right? Whether we expound based on the juxtaposition of two halachot. Which means that the question of whether kilayim is docha tzitzis is a machlokas. What does Rashi then derive from that? That if there's a machlokas about kilayim tzitzis, then maybe Kesher Elyon is a machlokas, right? That's where Rashi gets the notion that Tosfos rejects that Kesher Elyon, right? That Kesher Elyon is a machlokas. What? Gemara in Yevamot said that Aseh Dochalos say by tzitzit. How do you know? Because that shita holds that Dorish Smuchen, that if two halachot are juxtaposed in the Torah, we can derive laws from it. Okay. But that's a machloket whether Dorish Smuchen, whether there's halachic significance to the juxtaposition of laws. Which means the question of whether Kilayim B'tzitzis is actually Docha depends on whether you learn halachos from Smuchen. But since that's a machlokas, whether that principle, that exegetical principle works, so Rashi says, the question of whether kilayim b'tzitzis is actually docha is a machloket. And Kesher Elyon, the Gemara says, the reason we have Kesher Elyon doraisa, so otherwise you wouldn't need a pasuk to be matzah kilayim. But that means that according to the Shita that we are not dorish smuchen, and therefore you can't wear kilayim b'tzitzis, doesn't need to hold Kesher Elyon doraisa. Because he doesn't think it's mutter, so why does it need to be attached? Maybe it doesn't need to be attached. So that's how Rashi gets to this possibility of a machlokas. Okay, so with that in mind, now we can look at Tosfos and the shemoneh-esrei, but let's start with the shemoneh-esrei. The Kashim Berakama Diavamo, the Kamer Talmud, Halam Elis Muchim, Mitan Rabbi Yishmael, Nafki Dam Rabbi Yishmael, Kamang Mishnah Begadim, Amrachmana Avid Leit Chelet Chelet Imrahu. Umay Kamar LaOlam Eim Lachad, Ilav Smuchen Hava Mina Ein Ziz Docha Kilayim. Right, so the Gemara there, it sounds like that if it weren't for Smuchen, it would have thought that tzitzis are not Docha Kilayim. And therefore you would have thought that maybe if kilayim is not dochet tzitzis, then when we say you put tchelet, and tchelet is always wool, so then how would you put wool tchelet on a linen beged? By not tying it, right? You just put it in. And you would put it in with a single loop, which is not a knot, right? A single loop, which is not a lot, or single, right? In general, in halacha, you're only chayev when you have a double, right? A double.
I thought that doesn't apply if it's the same string, though.
Well, it depends, but we'll get to that in a second, right? The Shabbos issue, but for the moment, right? But this is not the same string. It's in the beged, so it's not tight, right?
Okay, fine.
Right? I mean, right? The reason that a knot at the end of a string might be kosher d'oraisa is because it's tight, right? As opposed to normally where you need a double knot to make it tight. But when you have but if you have just a loop in the tzitzit, it's not tight. V'teretz Rav Yosef Kalitza Nishu Shalayim the Parach. Hachi Baruch Hasam Latana Debeiro Yishmael Kazu Shem B'Tosfos, etc. So, what's the problem? Is that according to this, do you need kilayim? Not necessarily. Sorry, is kilayim necessarily docha? Not necessarily. And if it's not, then how do you know that you need Kesher Elyon? So Tosfos, if you look at Tosfos has a different drasha. Look at his V'yesh Lomar. We're going to go back and forth a little bit between Shikumetzes and Tosfos. What does Tosfos say? V'yesh Lomar. Dahachi lomaf mikrat zebim pishtim ele migdil umuch dikilayim the drasha gdil drasha nachoni the meaning gdil tov. He said you misunderstood the drasha. The drasha isn't really about kilayim. You know what the drasha is? Simply from the word gdil. Because what does the word gdil mean?
String.
Like braided string. That's how it's understanding. You need a good braid, and that requires a knot. So Tosha says, you know how you get out of saying that this is a machlokes? Right? Rashi thinks it's a machlokes because he thinks it hangs fully on the kilayim question, which is a machlokes. How does Tosha deal with it? Tosha says, no, the real reason you need Kesher Elyon because tzitzis are defined as a gdil, and without a knot, what do you have? You don't have a good, solid thing.
No, all that could be saying is that each string has to be woven. Like the string is two strings that are wound.
Correct, you could get out of it, and that's why in his inami he says inami sugid hasam asik mandem gdil dafka v'shem the hasam asik mandem gdil psil ptuk demarai v'samach. So alternatively, this really is subject to a machlokas and fine. So then you continue in the Shitting Gubet. He says, "Miu kasha mori hari." My parachach my idris is muchan a rabba atzmar lekaman dasi lemei martem bishim potram beinu min sholomim and v'teretz aram shemedaktik b'perish hakontris yimatzei hakol mechuvan nachik marshma min hakesher elyon halach moshe mitzinei di b'itzrach u'mish yitzad mitzizis ve'ina ratza lomar midras smuchan al mitzrach b'kama mekomos braisos lomar ditzitzos kilayim. So he says, no, you misunderstood it. He said, you know why it's not a machlokes? Not everybody agrees to smuchen, but there are other drasha that on Daf Mem of why kilayim is dochet tzitzis, meaning the Gemara in Yevamot is introducing smuchen, but there are other reasons. There are other drasha. So why is Rashi so convinced that the reason we know Kesher Elyon D'Oraisa is kilayim? Because there are many possible drashot of kilayim b'tzitzis, right? Tzadim b'tzitzis, but b'tzam v'chayvin v'Kesher Elyon Lav D'Oraisa p'shit doesn't chayv the chibor, and therefore that's how he understands it. Okay, but fundamentally, right, the two ways of understanding what's going on here is that it's some version of the kilayim one. Alternatively, there is this added thing that maybe it's directly from the fact that you need it to be defined as a gedil. You need it to be a quality knotted tzitzis. Okay. Now the Chacham Sofer is the one who made this point. right? That is pligi tanoi, etc. Okay, fine. So I want to do two things. Okay, this is not a huge sugya. Conceptually, right? Leaving aside the kilayim issue for a moment, right? Conceptually, what is the difference, right? Why, conceptually, what does it mean to say Kesher Elyon is the top knot, or Kesher Elyon is the...
Well, when it comes to the strings being cut off.
What does it mean? What drives it? What is it?
What makes the talis kosher as possible?
Why did I not bring it again? You want to grab me the Rav book? You know where it is.
Which book?
The Rav's book. Now, I will point out there is a little bit. Now, while waiting for him, what would you think would happen? Now, if you, by the way, if you didn't hold Kesher Elyon D'Oraisa, so then what would you think you would hold? Right? If you hold not Kesher Elyon D'Oraisa, so then what do you hold? So what does your tzitzis look like?
String going through the...
It means that
According to Tosfos, what does it
it's
mean?
just not knotted.
Right, so according to Tosfos, it sounds like if you hold the Kesher Elyon Lav D'Oraisa, that means that it's just a bunch of strings going through a hole and hanging out, right? That's how Tosfos understands it. Right, what does it mean according to Rashi?
That it's tied, just not the last one.
Correct, right? According to Rashi, it sounds like everyone agrees that it's tied to the beged. The only question is, do you need a second knot at the end of the string? But presumably, there is a knot at the beginning that ties it to. It's just, the question is, everyone agrees that that's the case. The only question is, do you need another knot by the end of the string? Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yosef, does that make sense?
Can you repeat the last part of it?
No, can you repeat that last part of it?
No.
Come on. Come on. It wasn't complicated. Come on. It's basic. Come on. Right? So, the simplest read, Nachum, right? If you hold the Kesher Elyon Lav D'Oraisa, so according to Tosfos, what does that look like? Your tzitzis look like? Yeah, if you held Lav D'Oraisa, so what would that look like? Your string's just hanging loose.
Right.
Tosfos. According to Rashi, what would it look like?
Fully tied up to the last one.
Correct. It'd be tied, and then
Well, the
a
last
bunch
one-
of twists, and it just doesn't need to be a knot at the end.
Right.
But presumably there is a
Still
knot.
have the knots going up to it.
Correct. Now Rabbeinu David is not sure of this. I didn't give it to you, but the Ran quotes Rabbeinu David in that Sugya in Sanhedrin. He says, "V'lav l'meimer isfir lo nekesher on lav d'oraisa lo bin nekesher klal." You can't say that what it means is that if you don't have Kesher Elyon, that you don't need a tie at all. Why is he convinced that that can't be what it means? Dim kain gedil eichim eshkachat la, because tisses are defined as gedil, which is this braided, knotted thing. So it can't be that anyone has even a hava amina.
So it has to be the last one.
So Ella kesher samach lebeged vaday daraisu. Well, kesher agdil letzara tzitzis with misaplan yave daraisu lo, and that's why Rabbeinu David reads the Gemara like who? Rashi, right? He said, what's another conceptual reason to argue on Tosfot?
Because then they're not considered braided.
Right, meaning that the definition is gdil, and Tosfot said that if you didn't hold Kesher Elyon D'Oraisa, you could imagine that tzitzis just hanging. Rabbeinu said, "Mapitom." You could never imagine that that'd be true, right? That can't be the machlokes. How do I know that machlokes is about the final knot, right? The farthest knot, because it can't be the knot closest to the beged, because that's ridiculous,
Yeah, but tzitzis could deal.
right?
What? Tzitzis
But he said, "What?"
Tzitzis are not defined as braided things. It's just
Yes, they are gidil.
Straight.
Gidil. Gidil means knotted and braided. Gidilim taselacha. That's the pasuk in Kedetze, and he says, yes, it is defined that way.
But each string is braided.
No, the tzitzit as a unit are braided. Gidilim taselacha. He said, "V'avgadu kesher samach lebegdu d'oraisa." Islam lameimer had the chudei kesher achenim chibelim kinayim ad ikashtei chlivot. So he says, okay. So now he says, let's defend Rashi. So we had a problem. If you hold that the Kesher Elyon is the bottom knot, so how do you defend Rashi? Why is it that this hangs on the kilayim question? So what's the answer? Right, so he says it's very simple. Because in general, in Hilchos Shabbos, how many knots do you need for something to be considered d'oraisa? A double knot. So he says, how does Rashi read the sugya? Just shot?
One knot.
No, the first knot everyone agrees is there because that's what attaches the beged. The machloket is that you need the discussion about the second knot. In a Hanami, it's not 2 knots in a row. The reason that the second knot is what creates kilayim is because you have knot, twists, and the bottom you have a knot, and it's that second knot which makes it a problem for kilayim because that's a double knot. That's how Rashi reads the sugya.
Wait, so he's according to this, it doesn't even seem like it's this knot. It seems like it's this knot.
No, it's the second knot, wherever the second knot
This
happens to
one
be.
right here.
No,
No.
remember.
Each
Okay,
of these knots.
Nachum. Remember what sugya we haven't done yet? How you're supposed to tie tzitzis. You look at your tzitzis and you say, "Oh, my tzitzis obviously look like this." No, it's the second knot after the twists, right? However that looks.
But there could be many different things.
It's the second one. That's it. The second one.
If you
There,
want-
dude,
Right?
Second one where? Like it could be this one. It could be this one.
No, the second one. You don't need all of them. Everyone agrees you don't need to know.
Second one from where? From this.
The one after the twists.
So after the first twist.
No, nobody holds that those are da'oraisa. The question is, what's the da'oraisa?
I'm trying to understand what.
No, no one holds that all the knots you have in your tzitzis is da'oraisa.
Right.
Rabbeinu David says what Rashi means is the second knot, meaning the one, there's knot, twists,
Right.
a knot.
Right.
That's where the da'oraisa ends. You can have multiple knots after that, but the da'oraisa ends at the second knot, which is halachically the farthest significant one.
So so you only need up till here.
According to Tosfos, you only need here, the first knot. According to Rashi, no, you need 0 twists.
Oh, you just need. Tosfos just said you just need it through the beggar.
Kesher Elyon d'oraisa.
Right.
In terms of
Rashi
Kesher
says here.
Rashi says the knot that's d'oraisa is the one after the twists.
This twist, which
Again, we have ours have multiple knots. We're going to do that either tomorrow or the day after that.
Based off of this, I would just need right up to there.
We'll see.
Not even need this.
You need the second knot, d'oraisa, after the first set of twists. Yes.
Yeah.
However you get to that, fine. But we'll see what.
I'm saying based on these tzitzis.
Okay, fine. Good. So Rabbeinu David said, how does Rashi defend his position? We've defended him linguistically. How do we defend him halachically? He says it's very simple. If the way you know it is because of kilayim, and kilayim requires a double knot, who says it's a double knot right together? It's 2 knots. Not a double knot, it's 2 knots.
No, but it's the second knot after the twist.
Correct. It's not. We don't mean a double knot, we mean 2 knots. And therefore the second knot, which is the extreme knot, is what makes it kilayim, because the first one is only a single knot. And that's how he solves the problem
it's a single
of... Yes.
Wow.
And he says, etc. And he says, and that, right, he says, and then he said, that's the logic, right? That's how you defend Rashi. Right? That's how you defend Rashi.
That's the second knot after this twist.
Correct, because that's where kilayim is going to kick in.
So you
And he says, now he doesn't like it. One second, he doesn't like it. He says, I don't like it. Kesher Elyon yesh bo shnei ksharim zechar zeh, kmo shanu nogin, o kesher l'chod, v'even in shnei ksharim, t'dei sheyagdil, im ken kesher Elyon d'oraisa vei. Shemach yitzchak mal m'shrei kalim v'tzitzit, v'yisrael l'dai kesher Elyon david d'oraisa, de kesher echad l'chod. V'ayim tchilachas, al mishum d'chsev gdil, v'im kesher echad, kmo mertivachas, lesed, d'gdil, rosamar neves uchuyos, v'kesher l'chod. He has a bunch of problems with it. And he says, first of all, Rashi is not talking about a double knot, he's talking about a second knot. Presumably, right, the Ran disagrees with Rabbeinu David because he says what will make it attached? Not 2 knots, but a double knot. No. A double knot, not 2 knots. Right? Rabbeinu David is Mechadesh, so what you need is 2 knots. He says, Mapikam 2 knots. What makes it permanent is not 2 separate knots.
So that's what he's saying Rashi's saying?
No, this is why the Ran doesn't like Rabbeinu David. Rabbeinu David follows Rashi. Rabbeinu David follows Rashi.
It's a double.
It's the second knot, and the reason that kilayim hangs on this Kesher Elyon is because that's when you have 2 knots. The Ran says, I don't understand how you can possibly say that because the minhag is that on the first knot, what do you put?
2.
A double knot,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean.
Right? You put a double knot at the beginning.
No, but
It doesn't mean 2 knots. What makes it permanent? Not 2 knots, a double knot.
2 knots after the twist. The second
No.
knot after the twist.
The Ran says, the Ran says, I don't like Rabbeinu David, because Rabbeinu David says what makes it daraisa is 2 knots. He's wrong. What makes it daraisa is
The double knot.
a double knot. And where is that double knot? Where is that double knot?
First one.
The one
So
closest.
he's saying he doesn't.
Please don't say
need the
first.
twist.
The one closest to the beged.
He's saying you don't need a twist.
The twist are not makev. Everyone agrees with that.
Wait, but I thought we just said Deraisa, you need the twist.
No! Daraisa, according to Rashi, you need the second knot, meaning the one that's later on the twist, practically. Right? But you don't. But if you didn't have the twist, you'd be Yotze. The only thing you need is.
Whoa. How are we changing Deraisa? We just said Deraisa.
We didn't change it.
We just
Tosfos-
said Deraisa means.
Tosfos- No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We said that according to Rashi, Daraisa, you need the second knot, which is realistically the one comes after it's a twist. Let's say you didn't twist and you cut and you actually made a double knot. According to Rashi, it's probably fine also. Right?
So what does the pasuk mean by? Whoa. We just said.
Tosfos thinks Kesher Elyon is the one closest to
The beggar.
the beggar. Right? So again, we have two. Let's summarize what we have so far. First, linguistic problem. Okay, this is the easy one. Tosfos thinks Kesher Elyon means closest to beged. Why is that Elyon? Because it's the closest when you wear it.
Right.
The Rashi thinks it's the farthest one.
Well, yes.
Either because Elyon can mean the extreme, or because when you make it, however you want to defend it. Then there's a halachic question, right? One is this a machlokes? Well, the Gemara says it hangs on kilayim. Rashi says the kilayim thing is a machlokes. It's a machlokes. Right? Tosfos doesn't like it, and the way Shijim Lubetzit says is, why doesn't he like it? Because there is no machlokes. There's only machlokes whether you derive it from suchen, right? But not a machlokes bechlal. Okay, good. Next question: according to Tosfos, how do we prove the Kesher Elyon Daraisa from the fact that you need to permit kilayim b'tzitzis? Because you need to attach it, and you put a knot at the beginning. The Ran says, what type of knot is that? A double knot. Well, by knot we mean that which attaches it to the beged, which can be a double knot. Right, but that's what we mean. Good. Rabbeinu David says, how do you defend Rashi? Because remember, Rashi thinks that it's the farthest knot. But how could it be the farthest knot? What does that have to do with kilayim? Rabbeinu David's answer is that it's not a double knot, you need 2 knots. Right? And that means it could theoretically daraisa be a double knot, or it could be not, chuliot, knot. The point is, once you have 2 knots, that's when it's considered attached.
I'm confused because Deraisa, you don't need the chuliot, or you do?
No. We're going to see the chuliot, but no. The araisa, it's not ma'akev.
You just need the knot.
You need the knot.
Or double.
You need the Kesher Elyon. That's what you need the araisa.
Okay,
everything besides Kesher Elyon, all the chuliot are only, or maybe there's a value daraisa, but they're not ma'akev. Right?
Whoa.
We haven't done it yet. That's the next sugya. That's literally the next sugya.
Fine.
The Gemara goes on. But the next Gemara is that. Okay? But that's Rabbeinu David. Now the Ran doesn't like it because the Ran says the issue isn't double knot. The issue is double knot, not 2 knots. Right? Mapito.
It's a lot of
Right?
knots.
When someone ties the shoes.
Not in my brain.
When someone ties the shoes and shots, it's not right.
And he says, besides, you know that it has to be a double knot. It can't be that the first knot is a single knot because it's called a gedil. What does a gedil require?
A second knot.
Braiding, wrapping. If you have a double knot, wait. The Ran says if you have a double knot, then at least, can it be called a gedil?
No.
Yes.
What?
Because once there's a double knot, it has more than one thing going on. So at least the basic minimum is that a gedil? He says yes. But 1 knot is not a gedil. That's how he understands
I'm so
it.
confused because we're saying.
That's how he understands it. That's how he understands it. He says a gedil means braided, which means at least 2 knots. Because once you have 2 knots, you at least have some sort of texture.
Deraisa gedil means you need
A braid of sorts, which he says is sufficient if you have a double knot.
You don't need a braid of sorts.
No, we did not say that.
I'm so confused right now.
No, he says that the double knot, the Kesher Elyon, biblically is enough to count it as a gedil. You don't need the wraps. Yeah, it counts as the braid wrapping. All the other, how many wraps you need is not daraisa. The fact that you need it wrapped at some point is daraisa. But according to the Ran, when is that point?
The knot counts as
the double knot is what counts.
As a gedil.
Correct. That's the minimum for it to be defined as a deal. The minimum. Again, we're going to see that tomorrow.
We interpret it fine. Actually, because deal doesn't necessarily mean wrapping like we interpret it. It could mean a knot is considered a wrapping.
Good.
Whoa.
Okay. So that is just the basic shot of this machlokas. Now, what time is it?
12.
Okay, I thought I'd do this in one. So here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, what's left is the conceptual question, right? We've just described the Kesher Elyon. The last thing, and this is very short, is, so tomorrow this is what I want to do. I want to say, conceptually, right, explain what is the purpose of the Kesher Elyon, right? What is it conceptually? We're almost there, but just flesh it out tomorrow.
The making of
Tomorrow, okay? Then I give you a little bit of psak just to see how we paskin, right? Hopefully we'll spend no more than 20 minutes on this, and then continue in the Gemara tomorrow. Take the Gemara all the way from here to Amud Beis to like 8 lines down on Amud Beis, on Amud Beis, where the Gemara actually discusses how do you wrap, because obviously you have to wrap. How much of it is wrapped? If you want to look at the halacha, it's very complicated. So what I'm trying to do is, I have a guide from Til Tchelet where they basically have every possible shita spelled out. So they make an important point. I'll just make it for you now. Is that most shitot in the Rishonim, they'll like make comments here and there, but they won't spell out ad sof how they think you're supposed to tie it. Like you have to construct it. So what they do is they have this guide of about 10 different ones, which are pictures. I'm trying to get it printed in color. If I can't find something printed in color, I'm going to have to send it to you on your phones.
You don't need you want to do halacha with tchelas?
The Gemara is talking about tchelet. So if you want to understand what the Gemara is telling you...
I thought we were just going to do like how many...
the Gemara is talking about tchelet.
I know.
So therefore, if you want to understand what the Gemara is talking about, you need to...
You wanted to just do the halacha of just how many...
The halacha of it is with tchelet, because that's what the Gemara is talking about. Our tzitzit is just a pale reflection of that, and what you do in a world without tchelet is very complicated.
That's what I was saying. I thought you wanted to do halacha
So, we are doing halacha ma'isa. So what I want to do two things. I want to do... This is how we're going to have to do it. First, we're going to have to do the ideal, which is, if you have tchelet, how do you tie? And you'll see there's like 10 different positions, right? And then you'll understand what's going on. Then, if you would like, we can say, well, what did we do when you don't have tchelet? Right? How do you tie, and why do you do that? If you want, I would say, just open a Shulchan Aruch, the Siman Yud Aleph, and read it, because there are endless number of positions. There's like, even within just the white, there's like 20 different permutations. So just go in Mishnah Berurah, Shulchan Aruch Mishnah Berurah, and read as much of it as you can, and you'll get an idea of what we're doing. But fundamentally, I want to show you this guide, because I figured it's just not worth going through every single Rishon, every single Gaon, and showing you exactly how you understand it. The principles all come from this Gemara, so I want you to understand the tensions, right? How would you get to each one, right? Etc. So tomorrow, try to figure out the conceptual issue of Kesher Elyon, and start the Gemara on tying. And again, I want you to get to Lamed Tes of Beis, and we'll spend tomorrow and maybe Sunday if we don't finish it, because I'd like to finish this before we go on break for Hanukkah, so I just want to be done with it. So Sunday, but we have Yeshiva on Monday. Still, I want to finish this place.
What is happening Monday? We have Missy
Yeah, it says something like Missy Bob.
At night.
Yeah. Share till.
I don't know exactly the story this morning.
Night stinger, I believe, or more.
Correct. Yeah, right. But for sheer purposes, we'll see. Look, I want to make sure we get through the tying. Right. Once we get through the tying, if you want to do a Hanukkah sugya, then we could do a Hanukkah sugya, then and take a break, or we could continue, or we could do the Meir Brachot sugya, which is sort of standalone, and we can jump to that if you want to do it, or whatever you want to do. But I want to at least get through the tying, because I at least want to be close on a point where so okay, that's what we're doing tomorrow, okay? So think about Kesher Elyon, read through the Gemara on tying. If you have a chance to read through the Gemara, the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Yud Aleph, it's great. If I can't find someone with a color printer, I'm going to send you this 3-page guide in color, this way you can see the blue and the white, how they alternate and things like that, okay?